Hello, and thank you for tuning in to our weekly news roundup by blockchaingamer.biz on Friday, the 14th of June, with me, Jenny Jordan, and co-host John Jordan. Hi, John. How's it going?
Hello. Yes.
Hello. Good. Right, plenty of news this week, as usual. We have had a 30% increase, almost, a bit more even, on Epic Games of new blockchain games coming to the platform. And this was basically something we highlighted in conjunction with one of the most anticipated titles in the Web3 space, Parallel TCG from Parallel Studios, coming on the distribution store. NFL Rivals has broken 6 million in total lifetime NFT trading volume, and that includes a kind of an all-time high during May of over 1 million in NFT trading volume. Gamee's what bird protocol has garnered over 2 million wallets on Telegram that have then sort of connected to their gaming project. There's plenty of games on Telegram, and obviously Gamee has loads of games, but this is the particular what protocol, and they've sort of increased the utility for specific NFT collections as well, including Put Your Penguins and what are the other ones? I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. Prominent NFT collections. Arbitrum passed a fairly eye-watering 225 million proposal. This is a DAO, an Arbitrum DAO, including members from sort of Treasure DAO and other various community members. It's going to last for 3 years, which is basically aimed to boost gaming on Arbitrum, aiming to get 100 to 200 titles, and we'll talk more about that later. Proof of Play launched their Pirate token for Pirate Nation, and most sort of biggest news in there, I suppose, is that Coinbase then listed it, and the price has sort of doubled since. So we've always seen that with other tokens as well, but in the kind of midst of loads of Web3 gaming tokens just completely crashing at the moment, this project stands out. As with other projects, it's kind of like Pixels and a few others, where there's actual utility in the token and people aren't gonna buy it to pump and dump and sort of just do it to quickly make a profit. You have been talking to Luke Bałykowski, CEO of Pixels, this week as well, ahead of their Chapter 2 launch, which is coming up next week. So we'll dive into a little bit more of what Chapter 2 features and what Luke sort of has in mind, more in the long-term vision of Pixels and where's the game's going. And Shrapnel has announced the $100,000 playtest STX 3.1 coming up on the 24th of June. First of all, though, John, I just want to ask you, is Web3 gaming dead, I assume? You don't think so?
Yeah, it's sort of a bit weird. I mean, I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm part of the sort of degen crypto Twitter sort of community. I sort of maybe hang around on the outskirts a little bit. And it suddenly seemed to, when was it? On Wednesday, I think everyone was like, this sort of, not quite a meme, but sort of like people saying Web3 gaming is dead. I mean, I think a lot of them were saying Web3 gaming is dead, and this is right. It's not this is why it's not sort of dead. They were sort of using it as a sort of a leverage point, a fulcrum to say, but our game's really great or something like that. So I think it was a slightly sort of made up sort of scenario, a bit like my Web3 gaming is inevitable. I mean, obviously Web3 gaming is dead is sort of like a counterparty to Web3 gaming is inevitable, which has been sort of an interesting sort of meme for, I guess, for 2024. Sam from the Wolves DAO, sort of very good marketeer. He sort of invented it, and it sort of got kicked around a little bit and is still being used. But I think it was actually interesting when I was talking to Luke from Pixels for the podcast. One of the things was interesting was I spoke to him in January this year, just when Pixels was it was the most popular game. It's done about 200,000 daily active unique wallets. It was, but the whole sector was sort of like quite bubbling, and all these tokens were going live, and Heroes of Mavia, and these quite relatively big games were launching, and tokens, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" And, it's all fantastic, and Mon Protocol, and all these sort of Portal, kind of even go through them all. And what we've seen really in the last sort of 2.5 months is all that drain away, and that's been interesting because the Bitcoin and Ethereum price is still relatively sort of fairly high. Meme coins in particular have done really well, but the game side has just I think has sort of sustained within its sort of little group of a few thousand people who like farming on Blast or whatever, and there's quite a lot of those sort of weird sort of on-chain sort of gambling, wagering, sort of zero sum games where people put a lot of money in and then the winner takes all. And some of those I think can be interesting, but a lot of them are a little bit sort of exploitative. And yeah, it's sort of as I say, the sort of the main crypto is still relatively high, and all the news is sort of good that the ETH ETFs are going to happen in the summer. Even Gary Gensler sort of says that now. But it's sort of interesting how even in the last week, game tokens are sort of like really pancaked. They really everything's come down 20-30%. So I think that's sort of the that's why that sort of meme came along. But as I was saying to Luke, it's sort of funny that I think since I spoke to him, Pixels is now over 1 million, so it's like 5x its actual playing audience. Obviously, some of those are bots, whatever, but it's considerably grown its audience, and everything else, the best of those other blockchain games have gone up 10-20%. I mean, games that I really like, Nine Chronicles or something like that, which is I think sort of the second biggest game. It's under 100,000 the daily active unique wallets. Obviously, there's loads of stuff going on Telegram and all these sort of slightly more botty, mad sort of things, millions and millions of stuff going on there. So there's always stuff, interesting stuff going on. But there seems to be a real sort of split between, a game like Pixels, which is actually quite Web3 native. It's not fully on chain or anything like that, of course, but it seems to be doing really well. And we'll talk a bit about maybe what their future plans are. But all the other sort of degen stuff has sort of, those things work when they sort of are big, exploding, exciting, and they bring in more audience. And it seems like they've sort of capped out as I say, you look at a lot of those games, and literally it is, some stats came out about Crypto the Game, which got bought by Uniswap this week. And, it had the last season had 800 people playing it, which is 800 people. It's it's sort of fully on chain thing. It's not for everyone. I didn't play it, and even with something like we'll talk maybe a bit about. Pirate Nation launching its token, but when you're looking at that game, which is pretty hyped, they did really great collaborations and with about 40 different games, and its DAUs on a daily basis were peaked at about 1,000. Obviously, many more wallets were playing it over a month or something like that, but on a daily basis, it's a very easy to play sort of game. 1,000, and in my head, that's always those degen guys. Those are games that a few thousand people might play, and you just can't. If you can't scale a game, then you just have to have those 1,000 people paying you all the time for it to work. So it doesn't.
Because it depends which games you sort of choose to focus on. You could focus on, like you say, the Pixels, Nine Chronicles, NFL Rivals, these, or then sort of the other side of it would be sort of Heroes of Mavia, which we've been sort of discussing a bit lately. Where's that gone? Whatever happened there? To the token. The token's still obviously there, but kind of the game and marketplace and those things seem. So I guess you can sort of build your own narrative really around the games that you choose to focus on, but it's becoming. I guess my point is that it's becoming sort of maybe more relevant than ever, really, to the distinction between games, rather than just say, blockchain games or the Web3 gaming space. It's now very obvious that there are very particular games that attract certain types of people, like the degen people, and then sort of gamers, and then we got so you could say sort of crypto games have not done particularly well in this first half of 2024, whereas solid kind of game developers that are attracting actually more sort of gaming focused people that are also very intrigued by the blockchain element of things, those games tend to be doing better. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I mean, if you look at the, I mean, as you just said, it's interesting that you sort of obviously everyone makes a context of what's going on in the sector out of sort of what they're playing. So obviously, my take on this is sort of self-justifying in terms of the games I'm playing. And as I come out of the sort of the game industry, not the crypto industry, those are the sort of games that I go. Well, of course, those are the games that are going to win out in the end. The games that are developed by proper gamers. But I mean, Pixels actually they're not a game dev team, but they're very coming out of a proper dev iterative dev background of making sort of apps and games and really iterative. NFL Rivals, we talk about it all the time. The first real good, successful game through the app stores from Mythical Games, really well experienced in just making games for like 20 years. And again, that's a game that goes under the headlines that the degen people don't touch that because it's not, obviously not fully on chain at all, but it doesn't even talk about NFTs. But as we say, $6 million. I mean, that's not enormous, obviously, in terms of NFT trading compared to Pudgy Penguins or whatever. But that's going through app stores and it's accelerating pretty fast. So May was double what April was, and June is looking like it's going to be 50% up on May. And obviously it's an NFL game, and NFL is in the off season, so obviously it tends to peak towards Super Bowl in February of a year. So and obviously NFL Rivals is the sort of first big game for Mythical through the app stores, but they've got Nitro Nation, which they're sort of publishing, which is obviously going a bit slower in terms of the dev side of that. That's a racing game, drag racing game. Then they started talking about sort of the relaunch of Blanco, so Blanco's mobile. I don't know if it'll be out this year. I mean, maybe. And obviously they're taking all the learnings from NFL Rivals and the way that their economy works, and we'll see if they can reinvent that sort of game, which had a quite strong community once and not so much anymore. But then they have other, they've got Pudgy Penguins game they're doing. So those sort of games, I think are sort of going sort of under the radar a little bit. Guild of Guardians, obviously playing that quite a lot through Immutable. Again, another. Is it a blockchain game? Well, of course it is, because you own NFTs and there's things you can do outside of the game with those NFTs. But it's nothing like a fully on-chain game. It's very loads of people. Because I've been trying to look at the data around this sort of stuff. The vast majority of those people, I imagine, kind of, I'd be amazed if 5% of the people playing that game at the moment are using NFTs. When it comes to NFL Rivals, they've had like 5 million downloads, and on a monthly basis, they have, I can't quite remember the numbers now, but it's like sub 1% of those downloads have converted to active wallets on a monthly basis. Obviously, a lot of them have churned out now, but it's just partly an educational thing. It's a new technology, and partly most people don't spend money in free to play mobile games, so they're not going to spend money on NFTs, which they don't understand.
Well, it's also like part of kind of this, human nature to some extent. We don't like massive quick changes. We like slow adoption, and so it's only natural that this is the pace it's going to be at. It would be kind of naive to expect everyone to embrace Web3 and the lot that comes with it, sort of immediately overnight sort of thing.
I mean, you do get that overnight success with crypto obviously has that. Meme coins to a degree are sort of that, and obviously Axie Infinity back in 2021 was that, where it suddenly had basically from space of a few months went from literally nothing to peaked at 3 million players, 1 million DAUs, wallet DAUs. So but then it just goes up like that, and then sort of when the money stops, it goes down the other side because it's people aren't playing the game. The game has no structure around. This is a really enjoyable game to play, and actually keep going back to it. One of the interesting things Luke said about Pixels is he said that game is not far off at the moment being a sort of self-sustaining economy in terms of people spending money, in terms of the Pixel token to get their VIP membership and all that sort of people. So people are paying to play the game and get better sort of rewards and stuff in the game, and then they're giving out some of those tokens to other people to encourage them to play or get them to start playing the game. And he says we're not far off actually that being that sort of balancing, because they're doing about $2.5 million worth of revenue from their VIP subscription system. People are paying that in the Pixel token, and then they, obviously they have loads of Pixel token anyway because they invented it. But you can, and he said, strip away the blockchain. I think the games are going to be like free to play mobile games, whereas most people are the vast majority of people are not going to spend any money. You're not going to make tons of money playing Pixels. Some people will make maybe quite a little bit of money depending on how they structure that. but that will have to be balanced by other people who are happy to spend money and sort of be net spenders into the system, because they want they want to level up faster, they want to do things, they want to have more land, they want to there's things they want to do in the game to show off their cool status in the game. And those assets will be assets that they can maybe sell on later, but they won't be doing that. They won't be making money from that per se. These are, at some point we have to strip the blockchain out of games and just say these economies. If someone's taking money out, then other people have to be putting money in. That's how these things. You don't get money. You can get money from the magic money tree for a bit of time. Blockchain does give you that, but you can't sustain a whole business with the magic money token just gives everyone money. Everyone's a millionaire.
Well, and that's exactly the big distinction that we're talking about. Like our games is their main incentive, to give out money, and for the gamers that they attract, are they there basically to earn money, or are they there to play the game? Anyway, this moves us nicely on to Pirate Nation. So I didn't say that it is listed on Coinbase, but another sort of prominent sort of thing about this token launch is how many actually within the ecosystem that they claim the token has staked it back into the ecosystem. So tell us a bit more about that, the sort of benefits of doing that. I know you were one who did exactly that. So it's another example of people not sort of extracting the money and the resources. So
going back to actually one of our original points. So Pirate Nation is from a game company called Proof of Play, US company, very experienced. They worked on actually Farmville back in the day. They've funded by A16Z, like the prime sort of American VC. So really experienced. They know what they're doing. They are not making obviously they've made a game, Pirate Nation, but that is not what their company is about. Their company is about making a sort of fully on-chain ecosystem. Pirate Nation is the first game. They want it to be moddable by other people. Other people can operate on that. They have their own chain called Apex. So the Pirate Nation is the sort of the point of the spear of which the rest of their business model is sort of coming down the line. So when it comes to games, they know how to make a good game. They're not like the vast majority of these sort of blockchain game, crypto game developers who've I've played a lot of games, but never. Have you ever made one? No. Okay. Well, these guys have made 20. So I think their game's going to be a bit better than yours. So they're solid on the game front. I mean, the game is not. Me and you both play it. It's not going to blow your mind. It's sort of functional. The gameplay bit of it is you have a ship and it's basically a turn-based deck builder where you're attacking other ships and then it has like a sort of base building sort of element, I suppose, and there's a whole crafting thing, and you have energy and have missions, and you get reward resources and a whole bunch of stuff in there. So that's the sort of game bit of it. And they've run this sort of, they've been running, how long for? Probably about 2 months now, this little bounty system. So you collect points, a bit like everyone else doing, and you get points if you had NFTs, you have points for referral codes, there's all the sort of usual thing you would have. So you have this pirate token. The only way you could get the pirate token was to play the game and be part of this sort of whole bounty system. I'm looking at actually the stats. So on June Analytics, if you look at DJ Hyper, who's one of these people who build lots of dashboards. So he's built a dashboard for what's going on with Pirate. So far, let's have a look. Almost 85 million tokens have been. 121 million tokens have been claimed from 2026. So 28,000 wallets have claimed, which is a bit higher than I thought. Because I said, from a day-to-day basis, there wasn't that many people playing it from what I saw. But anyway. That many people. I guess if you had NFTs, you didn't need to play the game to claim. Anyway, so 30,000 people have claimed these tokens. That was the only way you could get the tokens. There wasn't a pre-sale or anything like that, like a lot of these sort of companies do at the moment. You had to be involved in the community, either holding NFTs or playing the game, or you got more if you did both. People did pretty well. I think the top wallet got about $400,000 worth of the token price when it first came out. As you say, the token price has actually doubled since it sort of first came out. But what's happened is, they really controlled their token, and you really only got it if you were, really had been quite committed to the game. and they then said when the token goes live, there's a staking system. You can stake your token, and if you do that, you'll get points. So this is points called proof of play points. They haven't said this specifically, but obviously they're running their own blockchain, and so at some point, I would imagine I would be amazed if the proof of play points don't convert into the blockchain's called Apex. It's a L3 running off of Arbitrum. So I'd be amazed if those tokens don't convert into into the Apex tokens. They've not said that explicitly. I guess they can't do because they're a US company and sort of securities law and all that sort of stuff. So but obviously the vast majority of people playing this game are sort of aware of that. They're not degens because degens. I mean, maybe some of them are, but they tend. It's not a degen sort of heavy game. There's no wagering in it or anything like that. So as you said, I think the vast majority of people have staked. So 121 million tokens have been claimed and 85 million have been staked. So what's that? 70% maybe. Not do the maths. Maybe 70% of it. Oh yeah, here we go. It actually says 70%. That's a good guess. So and the vast majority of that will be the whales who maybe to some degree, if you had $400,000 worth of pirate tokens, I don't think you could sell all that because you'd dump the price. So to a degree, you're maybe better off, leveraging it for these tokens tomorrow. But I just kind of think it's as much as they've had control over the levers of how you run a game and launch a token and do all these things, they've attracted the right people and they've given incentives for the right people sounds rubbish. It's me self-justifying myself again, but they've attracted a certain type of person who isn't going to dump at the first sign of money, and then they've incentivized those people to you're going to get more value further down the line. And obviously the vast majority of people have gone, yeah, I agree with your view of what's going on here, and that would be my take on it.
It was fairly recently that they even announced that this token was coming out. So people wouldn't have gone into the ecosystem and play the game a lot. I mean, maybe suspecting that this might be brewing, but not sort of knowing. So there's never been a promise that this is what you're going to get, sort of thing. If you and due to that, they would also know that people would have been sort of long-term supporters without expecting anything like this in return, sort of thing. And this was almost like a nice bonus.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said I've played it. I have one of the NFTs and been playing the game since I spoke to Amit, the CEO, on the Blockchain Gaming World podcast. I know, getting on for a year ago probably. And I just thought it was there's not that many games of that sort of quality, and I just from a let's play interesting blockchain games point of view, that was sort of why I was playing it. So I had no idea that was going on. But I just kind of think it sort of, in my head at least, emphasizes that there is we talk about blockchain games, but there is a very different communities, and it's not to say some people can't be degens in some situations and not degens in other situations. But I think there's a type of person who doesn't want to just like every day spend 10 minutes playing a game. They either like, right, this game's coming out, I'm going to farm it, I'm going to play like 48 hours without going to sleep. They have to be all in on it, and then I move on to the next one. That's fine sort of behavior. Those guys can make sort of tons of money doing that if they're lucky. But equally, there is a sort of just a community, just like we're just interested in games, and the financial side of it is not, it's not important, but it's not the first. It's not what we're chasing. We're not chasing returns. We're sort of, and obviously as say Proof of Play as a company that has a track record of making games. I think their sort of mates in the industry are going to be a slightly different type of person than say people farming gold on Blast or whatever the current thing is.
Yeah. Right, I don't want to make this one too long, but let's finish off. But unless you want to talk more about that, no. Can you tell us a little bit more about Telegram and how games work there, and how it's associated with the Ton blockchain, and why Gamee has somewhat, I would say, sort of exploded really in popularity?
I mean, for the sort of the spectrum of blockchain gaming I've invented for this episode of the podcast, Telegram definitely sits on the degen side of things. So, I mean, Telegram is for a long time has been but it's been a mobile messaging app. Much like lots of other messaging apps have been. It's mobile, and there is a desktop version as well. It's always been pretty popular for crypto. So it is like a bit like sort of something like Signal as well. It sort of came out of thinking about sort of censorship and all that sort of stuff. It basically came out of people who built Facebook in Russia, and then Putin came in and took it away from them. And they basically wanted to build a social network where that couldn't happen. So that's what the Telegram. That's sort of how it came out. And they've been very focused on that sort of security and sort of aspects of it. So there's been sort of, and one of the cool things about Telegram is you can build these bots, and obviously you can build bots anywhere. Discord has lots of bots. You can build useful bots and play bot games in Discord. But Telegram has just had a sort of different atmosphere on that. I guess Telegram is a bit more, definitely a global app, but a bit less sort of, it's a bit more probably emerging countries, so maybe have a bit more of a sort of degen type attitude, as sort of Yatsu always says about what's going on in APEC and being very capitalistic. So it's always had that sort of feel to it anyway. And then there's been the Ton blockchain, which was originally created by Telegram, and then the SEC banned them from doing that, and they had to Telegram had to stop doing it, so they basically created a foundation. But the two have always been very interlinked. But the only reason they're not exactly part of the same company is the SEC sued them. They did a big token launch back in the day, and had to give everyone their money back. So this Ton blockchain has been sort of created at arm's length from Telegram. It's always been very associated with Telegram, and then they basically over time, anyone in Telegram can have one of these Ton wallets. It's actually like you get a custodial wallet, and you can actually create a non-custodial wallet as well. And it's pretty useful. You can have Bitcoin on it. I mean, it is its own blockchain, but technically, the Ton people and the Telegram people technically they are very good developers at building stuff. So now you have this this network with however many 100 million people. I think they could quote 500 million sort of active users on Telegram. Although you can have multiple accounts, obviously, one person can have multiple accounts. So it's just sort of come together that there's this sort of community who are sort of into this sort of stuff, and bots and money and crypto. Now has this blockchain.
Money and crypto. What else could life be about?
What else could go? And it's something actually, not that I don't use Telegram very much. I'm not a big user of it. But you were sort of seeing this last year. You started to see stuff going on, sort of interesting sort of games. And Gamee is owned by Animoca Brands, but previously, before it was running blockchain, it was running stuff on Telegram, non-blockchain mini games. And then they did this thing called Arcade, actually spelled Arcade, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Arcade. And that was running on Polygon, and they had NFTs, and they had their Gamee token, and so they sort of moved. They were on Telegram, then they sort of moved into a more native sort of app through the App Store's experience. But Telegram has just got more and more sort of busy and interesting stuff going on there. And then the Notcoin launched. That was this year, and that was just like a tap. They call it a tap to earn game. It's sort of like you just literally tap on the screen and you get points, and you keep tapping, and you see all these videos of people with like 100 phones that everyone's tapping on in some country somewhere. But Toncoin worked really well. I can't remember, over 100 million supposedly users. I can't remember, something like that. Crazy. And it was just a bit of a meme coin. But it's launched. It's still in the top 100 cryptos. Again, not quite sure what you do with your not coin when you got it. And then we've gone through a few different cycles now. So there's the Hamster Combat is the current one. Everyone's again another sort of bit more of a game, but sort of a clicker game. And then this What Protocol from Gamee is sort of their attempt to, because they have all these games, they're kind of hyper casual games, I suppose. Some of them are pretty good, and they're sort of just linking those into a Telegram sort of bot with a. It's not a token on it yet, because obviously Gamee have their Gamee token, but the What Protocol is giving you points, and maybe what that's going to convert to, they haven't said yet, so we'll wait and see. And obviously they're kind of well connected because of Animoca, so they're rolling different communities into their sort of what protocol. And if you have connect your NFTs, you basically get more points every day. So they're sort of, I don't know whether it's quite degen enough. I think with those sort of things, you can't really be too degen because it's just how they sort of operate. And maybe the what protocol, not that I'm a good judge of that, is maybe because they sort of had this sort of history in this sort of like existing ecosystem to sort of handle. So, but you say it seems to be. I mean, they've said a couple of million wallets they've had, whereas like I think even Hamster Combat is on 15 million, and say not coin was over 100 million. So, but I think Telegram is a very interesting environment for blockchain sort of hyper casual type stuff. I guess the big question is, can someone build like a MMO RPG based around Telegram? There's some guys called Pixelverse who raised announced 5.5 million this week. They currently have something on Telegram, and they've got a bigger ecosystem, but I'm not quite sure if that's using Telegram. I think it's a good place for experimentation, at least. I guess it's kind of
worth sort of keeping an eye on and
where you take it from
not
there.
Be ignorant about. Yeah, good. So to end, we're going to actually mention what we started the week off doing. We launched our top 50, not top 50 blockchain gaming companies that we launched in January in 2024, but this is to highlight the actual people in the industry. So this awards is called Top 50 People in Blockchain Gaming, basically celebrating the enthusiasts and the developers and builders in the space, or any kind of you don't have to, not just game developers, but infrastructure, people supporting basically degens. Yeah, absolutely. You have to sort of ignore your opinions and actually look for what they're actually doing for the space. Anyway, so nominations for that started on Monday this week, and we'll run through June, and then it will be announced at the end of July. So if you want to cast your vote on someone you think is a really brilliant person doing lots of good for Web3 gaming, go onto our website and find the form there, or go onto our Twitter, BCGBiz, and we got a post sitting at the top there where you can comment. And on that note, we're going to say bye-bye for this week, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.